This is how I'll always remember you. Where were those pretty words when she needed to hear them? I can only beg your forgiveness and pray you'll hear me somehow. Hadouken!
The ability to identify right from wrong isn't a terribly hard thing to do. We know when something's wrong, we can feel it, and we as humans have the ability to weigh these options towards whatever might be the potential best outcome. As we become more self-involved, the lines deciding these factors become more murky. We begin to make justifications towards whatever path may be the easiest towards our desired outcome. If I placed you with the decision, one life or another, in a very Saw-like fashion, you might start to factor in the characteristics of these people into that choice. Let's say one person is a young man with his whole life ahead of him, and the other is an elderly woman. The woman has already lived a full life, but if I add the fact that the woman has kids and plenty of loved ones, and the man has nobody significant in his life, does that change anything? Maybe, maybe not, but what if the woman was now your mother? Now that we've latched on some type of personal attachment, biases start to naturally form. Now imagine a new setting. One of said set of people is the person you find dearest in the world, the center of your life, the person that means more than anything else to you, being pitted against whatever gets in your way. What if I told you you knew a means to save the person that was dearest to you? What lengths, what justifications would you go to save that person? Hello everyone, my name is Sen, welcome back to Crouchblock, and for today's video we'll be starting a journey chatting about some of my favorite content that Mr. Freeze happens to be placed in. A majority of which being the animated series or animated series adjacent, and then a little something special on the side. For today's video we're going to be discussing the introductory episode, Season 1, Episode 4, Heart of Ice. Amongst Batman's rogues, Mr. Freeze has always been such a standout character for me. He's rarely used in live-action adaptations of the Batman because Batman movies made over the last 20 or so years have focused on being very grounded and gritty, and unfortunately Mr. Freeze just doesn't fit that mold.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
On top of that, you would have to go out of your way to make his motivations more nefarious in nature, which would absolutely betray the character and likely wouldn't be supported. That's under the assumptions that Mr. Freeze is the A plotline villain. If you're going to throw him in something today, he'd have to be a B plotline side villain. Let's proceed. The episode starts off strongly with a chilling voiceover from our frigid foe, paired excellently with the striking silhouette of Mr. Freeze and the backing music. The Red Eyes has always done it for me in a big way. All the more reason approaching something like this in live action would be tough. I like this intro a lot. You immediately get across that this person is going to be the focal point of the episode and start to lay enough of the breadcrumbs down to maybe get on his side a little. Also, there's still enough mystery on the table that leaves you needing a little more.
Rest well, my love. The monster who took you from me will soon learn that revenge is a dish best served cold.
Breaking news!
We're getting updated on the recent heat wave that's been hitting Gotham, which is then contrasted by the cold-related crimes that have been happening. The way this report's structured makes it sound as if there's multiple GothCorp facilities being hit, or maybe it's just the same place being hit multiple times. I'll let you be the judge.
Once again, the target is a GothCorp facility, attacked by an assailant wielding what witnesses called a freezing gun.
We're also introduced to this real piece of shit, Ferris Boyle, voiced by Mark Hamill. I didn't look it up, it just sounds like him.
If this man has a problem, we're willing to listen.
Following up our news report, we get to see the part of Batman I'm so fond of being characterized, the
Detective.
Batman's noticed that all the pieces being stolen up until this point, save for one, can be used to make an extremely deadly old ray. Please tell me this isn't just Batman and Robin.
My passion, thoughts for my bride alone.
There's still one component missing, and only one GothCorp plant makes it.
It's little moments like this across the animated series that gives the Batman full color, and exactly why the DCAU will always be the definitive Batman in my eyes. All the more reason why characters like the Joker will never be as complete as the version Mark Hamill portrayed. Oftentimes movie interpretations of any given Joker will focus on one aspect of the character and elect to make that the entire persona of the Joker.
It'd be funny if it weren't so pathetic. No, what the heck, I'll laugh anyway.
That's exactly the same thing why I'm afraid of future interpretations of a live-action Mr. Freeze. I just don't want them to make him one-dimensional. We have to pack a lot of show into the 22-minute format, so we're right on location. Or are at least about to be, because Batman is in pursuit of our Sub-Zero scoundrel. And as well equipped as the Batmobile happens to be, Batman didn't throw on the snow tires. This leads to our first full look at Mr. Freeze. While iconic, the actual design of him is not all that terrifying. His design seems to be more based around the containment of his condition, which it is. In the process of securing his payload, the Batman shows up on scene and takes out the hired help effortlessly. Listen, I understand the look of TNBA is inferior, but due to the downgrade in style, the quality of the movement and action goes up a fair bit. I'm a fan of both, I just wish there was a little more resistance is all. We do get a cheeky little one-liner though.
Freeze!
That's Mr. Freeze to you.
This being our initial encounter, the Dark Knight has to be subdued at the moment, and one of Freeze's henchmen gets caught in the crossfire. Very true to the name of the episode, Freeze is willing to leave behind anyone from his crew if it gets in his way.
He should have been more careful. Now he's paid the price for his incompetence.
But he's one of us.
Then perhaps you'd like to share his fate.
Leaving Batman with a choice of caring for the injured man or pursue said icy individual. I only have a couple more of these, I promise. Naturally, Batman is of course going to look after the now victim of Mr. Freeze, in what would appear to be one of the healing pods from Dragon Ball Z. I actually really like this little dilemma Batman found himself in. As much as Batman cares about stopping Freeze, he cares even more about his fellow man. I could easily see Ben Affleck's Batman just leaving said henchmen to their devices.
He's pulling through. The hot chemical bath did the trick.
It's not super often that the animated series chooses to establish new characters, so the fact that Ferris Boyle is being showed off more than once, and Mr. Freeze is talking about his revenge, likely means this dude's probably in some real shit. In the meeting between Bruce and Boyle, we get a little bit more insight on Freeze's backstory. He was an ex-scientist of GothCorp. He happened to be using company equipment for personal reasons. We'll know what those are in just a moment. If you're familiar with Freeze, you know exactly what it is. After now confronting the ex-employee, things escalate into a fight leading to an explosion. And while Bruce is trying to inquire more, we do get an obvious hint that yes, in fact, this guy's a real shitlord.
What was he doing?
Wasting company money. My money. Look, Bruce, that people company line is great PR, but when the wage slaves start acting like they own the place, it's time to pull the plug.
Not much else happens here other than Boyle tipping off Bruce to an upcoming GothCorp event, so I'm sure that'll be important later.
Humanity, compassion, charity. Where were those pretty words when she needed to hear them?
I like in this moment that it does more of a job to hint towards Freeze being wronged, but at this point we don't know to what extent. To really raise an eyebrow just a bit more, in Batman's investigation he finds out that there was a cover-up of an explosion on GothCorp and is looking to find out more. Pursuing his hunch, we get to see another side of Batman we don't get to see all too often, which is the aspect of him being very capable of disguising himself rather effectively in his pursuit of further information. As a result, we get the full story. Victor was yes performing unauthorized experiments in an attempt to save his dying wife. Things don't exactly slow down in Boyle's attempts to shut down the project, escalating into a tragic chemical accident affecting Victor for the rest of his life.
Victor, I'm sorry. I lost my temper. It doesn't have to come to this. We can talk.
Oh! Oh!
Get out! Get out!
Man just wanted to save his wife, but now he's out for revenge. This is why I love Mr. Freeze so much. His desires aren't money or fame, government control, it's just a simple desire to be normal again and be with the one he loves. Surprisingly, Batman is left alive here, which might either be really stupid or further the point that he doesn't desire to murder senselessly. The goal at hand here is to completely seal GothCorp in ice, making sure Boyle and anyone else who is in the building dies. Because we're reaching the end of the episode, we have to cram all the action into the last couple of minutes. Batman pursues the frigid fiend in question, because he's Batman, stopping the actual Freeze cannon without the use of his utility belt. I wish they did put a little bit more emphasis on Batman struggling in the initial half of their encounter without his equipment. With Batman shutting down the cannon, Freeze goes off to pursue Boyle himself. There's a quick scuffle between Batman and Freeze, with Freeze being in the more advantageous position because the suit triples his strength.
defense circuitry that powers my suit also triples my strength.
Oh, that's nice.
I can't really fully recall how capable Season 1 Batman is at this time, but the modern day Batman I'm familiar with would have no problems packing up Mr. Freeze here. After all, he is a master of martial arts, and to the point we're all familiar with, has taken on foes multiple times stronger than he is. But that's not entirely a problem. The episode decides to have a little fun and have the clutch element being Alfred's chicken soup that he packed Bruce for his cold.
If you're going to go sneaking around a crowded office building, you'll need this.
Knockout gas?
Chicken soup. The only way to fight a cold.
I won't lie, that sounds pretty good right now. While the day may not have gone Freeze's way, and he hasn't personally exacted his revenge, Batman clues in the good people that Boyle isn't the humanitarian everyone thinks he is. We finish off things with Freeze in his cell, being left with such a forlorn feeling at the end of this episode. While Batman, yes, did save the day, not everything wrapped up cleanly, and while things Victor did are well outside the law, you can't help but to empathize with the guy, and I'm sure Bruce feels the same way. We might not think of it right now, but maybe in some way Bruce relates thinking of Andrea here. This doesn't line up one for one, but I'd like to think so. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our first stop shop with Mr. Freeze. While Heart of Ice isn't a perfect episode as far as I'm concerned, it did everything that it needed to, and it held my attention the whole way through. I think the most damning thing about the episode is that there's just not more episode. Heart of Ice would have really benefited from a part 2 being binded by the 22-minute format, having to wrap things up a bit abruptly. Just give it a little more time to cook. It introduces us to a new quote-unquote villain, sets up their motivations, and tacked on an interesting idea. Maybe Mr. Freeze happens to be our bad guy of the day, but he's not a bad person. Not every day that's finished is a day that's won, and even a villain can be a victim. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Let me know your favorite bit of Mr. Freeze-based content, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.
Think of it, Batman. To never again walk on a summer's day with a hot wind in your face and a warm hand to hold. Oh yes, I'd kill for that.